Born of an English neurosurgeon's vision for the disabled athlete, the first games were held in 1948 on a hospital's front lawn. By 1952, the competition became international, and another modern era began. Eventually, they would parallel the Olympic Games in importance and interest, and they continued to grow. Today, the Paralympics is the second largest sports event in the world. First Paralympics televised by an American network, and our coverage will come your way over the next 2 weekends here on CBS. If you want to get a sense of the importance of these games to the Olympic movement, it is not in the size and scale, but in that they are. The Paralympics stand above and apart from all other international competitions and have coincided with the Summer Games every 4 years since 1960, having fully been recognized by the International Olympic Committee in 1988. Along the way, the enthusiasm level and the average level of participation has grown to the point where this is worthy of World Championship athletes in any setting.
These are the games for the disabled and the physically challenged, yes, but do not be mistaken. They are the elite in their field. They are world-class by any measure. They are dedicated athletes who have earned a place in their own Olympic-level competition. And this is their showcase event.
Over the 10 days of competition, the Games will encompass 17 medal and 2 exhibition sports and skills of broad diversity. Most of the Paralympic competition is made up of traditional Olympic disciplines: track and field, swimming, basketball. The Paralympic competitors are classified in 4 categories: the visually impaired, cerebral palsy, and 2 classes of mobility impaired, those with wheelchair dependency, and various classifications of amputees. Classification is the key to competition, and it is based on the athlete's ability, adding an incentive to every competitor's rate of success, improvement, and achievement. The faces of stars, Olympic athletes as modern-day icons, sports heroes like Carl Lewis, Michael Jansen, and Amy Van Dyken become celebrities almost overnight, their fame achieving household notoriety. But these are heroes too. Tony Volpentest, whose 11.46 seconds in the 100 meters is a world record. Heinz Fry, a world record holder in the marathon, 5,000 and 10,000 meters. Tricia Zorn, owner of 9 world records and 39 Paralympic gold medals. Men and women of lesser fame, perhaps, but of greater accomplishment, courage, and heart. Coming up, the superstars of the Paralympic opening ceremonies: Carly Simon, the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, and Liza Minnelli.
The 1996 Atlanta Paralympic Games are sponsored by Bell South, keeping you ahead of the game. IBM, worldwide Olympic sponsor of the 1996 Paralympic Games. And by Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
Just months later, he re-enlisted, and now he is the only double-leg amputee that's an active member of the Army. And like every other competitor in the world, happiest when he's on his playing field. Dana Bowman is happy, out there and up there. He and his fellow jumpers all landing perfectly, Dana Bowman is a perfect symbol, for he stands for everything these games are about. The triumph of the human spirit. The stadium is bursting with the same strong energy that it had 4 weeks ago, and as well, filled with thousands who've committed themselves to taking part.
The man who exemplifies the triumph of the human spirit the Paralympic voice of spirit, please welcome Mr. Christopher Reeve.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor for me to be your host tonight. The triumph of the human spirit, the motto of the Paralympics, expresses the character of the athletes. And you will meet these heroes soon. They're the reason we've gathered for this historic event. And as they enter this stadium, consider their journeys and rejoice. Rejoice in their accomplishments. They've arrived at the place that's the pinnacle. The pinnacle of competition for world-class athletes.
And this crowd indeed rejoices as the Parade of Nations begins. Afghanistan enters first. They are just 2 members strong, both cyclists, with just 3 miles of paved roads in their homeland on which to train. Australia is one of the largest delegations with some of the most acclaimed and accomplished athletes in the world. After winning 3 golds and a silver in shorter distances in Barcelona, Louise Savage will focus on distance events in Atlanta, providing a serious challenge in the marathon. The 22-year-old won the 800 meters last month when it was an exhibition event at the Olympic Games. And John Eden, Australia's #1 discus thrower, finds his inspiration in the memory of his late girlfriend.
Moments ago, Almadin Osmanovic promised himself that the flag of Bosnia would be carried high and straight because many died for it. He lost his leg in the war and wears a blue t-shirt with a small flag pinned on. The Canadian delegation, 132 members strong. 4 years ago in Barcelona, they won 75 medals. They're driven, no doubt, by the simple thought, do better and win.
Great Britain, the only country to have been part of these games since their inception. The UK has sent 249 athletes across the pond to compete, including Tanni Gray, Britain's most successful women's racer ever. After winning 4 golds in Barcelona, she was named the Sunday Times Sportswoman of the Year in 1992, awarded by Her Majesty, the Queen. Our gold medalist found Gray amidst her countrymen.
Your 3rd time at the Paralympics, opening ceremony is always a thrill. How does this one compare?
It's absolutely magical. You know, it's been a long time that I've been competing, and you tend to get a little bit cynical sometimes about the games, but coming to the opening ceremony and, you know, coming out with the rest of the team, it's just been brilliant.
Still to come, the arrival of the athletes continues. Carly Simon, Aretha Franklin, Liza Minnelli, and Mark Wellman's climb to light the torch at the 1996 Paralympic Games.
The cheers at the opening ceremonies being received with great emotion. The Islamic Republic of Iran, 34 members strong, more than half of whom became disabled as a result of the war with Iraq. 4 years ago, Iran achieved the ultimate triumph. Its sitting volleyball team won the country's first and only Paralympic gold medal, beating the Netherlands in the final at the 1992 Games in Barcelona.
Israel has been a strong member of the Paralympic movement. Tel Aviv was once a host city, and it is a country like Iran or Iraq that at times has had an abundance of Paralympians for the worst reason in the world, and the reason the Games started in the first place: war. Shortly after, and because of World War II, English hospitals were filled with recovering wounded. Some were amputees, others paralyzed. All were dealing with what was to be for the rest of their lives. The Stoke Mandeville Hospital had been opened in 1944 in Aylesbury, England. Their specialty was handling spinal cord injuries, and their director was a specialist of neurosurgery. Dr. Ludwig Gutmann, as it turned out, realized these people needed more than post-operative rehabilitation and the best prosthetic devices. They needed purpose. So in 1948, when the Summer Olympic Games were held in London, 16 wheelchair veterans took part in an archery competition. The Stoke Mandeville Games were the birth of an idea. In 1960, the first so-called Paralympics shared the Olympic city of Rome. 400 athletes were there, and a 24-man team made the 18-hour flight to represent the U.S. Jack Whitman won the first of 12 American medals. He was an archer. And as Dr. Gutmann was hailed as the de Coubertin of the paralyzed by Pope Paul, another U.S. athlete, Ron Stein, won the Pentathlon and the title of the world's greatest wheelchair athlete. The Japanese royal family helped bring the Paralympics to Tokyo in '64, and Great Britain proudly led the Parade of Nations. Dr. Gutmann's dream now had its own flag and anthem. 22 countries attended, and new events were added. They included a 4x60-meter relay, and others that reflected the appeal of the Games for a wider range of athletes. There was fencing and wheelchair slalom. In 1968, while the Olympic Games were held in Mexico, the Paralympics were staged in Tel Aviv. 7 more countries were there, and the athletes were stronger. 38 new world records were set in the pool, and the Paralympics also discovered home court advantage, as Israel beat the U.S. for the gold in basketball. 44 nations helped create the largest Paralympics yet in Heidelberg, Germany, the same country of the '72 Summer Games, but a different city. The same was true in 1976 for the Toronto Games, which were the first for athletes visually impaired, while the 6th edition in Holland 4 years later saw long jumpers like this welcome athletes with cerebral palsy for the first time. As the 80s began, discussions were initiated with the IOC about official inclusion into the Olympic movement, but that didn't come right away. The '84 Games were held in the United States and at Stoke Mandeville Hospital in England, while the Olympic Games went on in Los Angeles. But then came the big breakthrough. The Paralympics were recognized by the IOC and joined the Summer Games in Seoul. Then again in Barcelona, where 1.5 million people attended events and a record 83 countries journeyed to Spain. Today, Paralympians have their well-deserved world stage as the momentum continues in Atlanta.
A member of the Kyrgyzstan team saluting the crowd that is so graciously saluting him and the 3,500 other participants marching in. And Nigeria back for just its second Games after winning 3 gold medals in Barcelona in 1992. Their flag bearer is Ajibola Adeoye, who won one of those golds in the 100 meters. In fact, Adeoye qualified for the 1996 Olympic Games, but the rules mandate that sprinters begin with both hands on the ground.
I was told in the history of the International Athletics Federation that by starting the race, you have to put the 2 arms together on the ground. So due to this disability, putting 1 arm on the ground, that's what disqualified me from participating in the able-bodied athlete. So I'm filled to participate in the disabled Paralympics for the Olympics.
After hosting the 1992 Paralympic Games, Spain has come to Atlanta to experience America. Switzerland boasts a strong contingent, which includes the fastest wheelchair distance racing man alive. Heinz Frey holds the world record in the marathon, the 10,000 meters, and the 5,000 meters. He has won 9 Paralympic medals and 7 world championship titles. But the adoration at these opening ceremonies is perhaps the most valuable honor these athletes will receive here in Atlanta. Coming up, the U.S. team makes its entrance.
These are our kids.
The U.S. contingent enters Olympic Stadium, and American Paralympians have never had a moment like this. At the Games, at home, when the Games were this big. They are the largest delegation here in Atlanta at 331 athletes. And in case you're interested, the basketball team will wear the same uniforms that the Dream Team did. And the track athletes will have that same USA look. To get here, they've survived their own Paralympic trials, and that process 4 years ago in Barcelona pushed the United States to win 176 medals, more than any nation. They're driven to be better in Atlanta. Like every team in any games, this unit has its elite athletes, a who's who who'll determine what's what. Tricia Zorn, legally blind, her vision 21,000. Still, she was an All-American swimmer at the University of Nebraska. Jean Driscoll, born with spina bifida, a 7-time wheelchair winner, though, of the Boston Marathon. Sprinter Dennis Oler. He's passed the crown of fastest man to this man, Tony Volpentest, who may not want to be a human interest story, only a world champion. He is both.
He is the fastest man in the world with no feet. Or hands, for that matter. But that hasn't stopped Tony Volpentest from threatening the 11-second barrier in the 100-meter dash. At the U.S. trials in May, he shattered his own world record for leg amputees with a time of 11.46, only 1.6 seconds off the standard Canada's Donovan Bailey set in the Olympic 100-meter dash 3 weeks ago.
When able-bodied people see Tony run, they're in shock. They just cannot believe how fast he is.
Volpentest breezed to the 100-meter gold at the 1992 Paralympics in Barcelona. And in the 4 years since, Tony has become faster.
The way I like to say it's going to be a good race for second place. Basically all I have to do is worry about my race, and you know, to be honest with you, if somebody beats me in Atlanta, they deserve it 100%.
The youngest of 6 kids, Tony was born without hands and feet. First place in any sport didn't seem like an option to his parents.
I was in the delivery room, and the first thought I had was maybe something internally was wrong and maybe he would die. I was kind of hoping, you know. And I don't know what happened, but within just seconds, my whole thought, my desire was totally the other way. I wanted him as much, if not more, than the other 5.
Tony's biggest step was his first, captured in this home movie. He's been running ever since.
Not having feet my whole life, and walking basically barefoot, better part of my childhood, really developed my legs to basically a sprinter's advantage.
Still, there were times Tony wanted to know why he was different.
I think when he was about 8 years old, he asked how much longer was it going to be before his hands grew. And that was a rough one.
Tony's hands never grew, but prosthetic legs he received as a teenager have helped blaze a new trail.
You know, I look at it like a guy that races cars. He's got to get into his car every time he's going to race it. It's kind of a long process to get in and get strapped in and everything the right way. And I look at the flex feet and the legs that I wear the same way. They're my tools that help me do what I do.
But do not think of Tony Volpentest as a machine. Extraordinary leg strength and grit have made him the overwhelming favorite in his Paralympic sprint events this week.
Never, ever tell Tony he can't do something, because he'll prove to you that he can.
For example, when Tony's short arms were causing problems with his 4-point starts, he came up with a practical solution. paint cans to prop up his arms. Off the track, Volpentest lives with his wife Allison outside Seattle. At home, Tony gets the star treatment from the couple's dachshunds. Tony's full-time job is running fast. Money comes from sponsors and admirers like Ross Perot. When he isn't sprinting, Volpentest spreads the word about disabled athletes to students.
You know, it's human nature to look at somebody, first impression, and think, wow, the person looks different. There must be something else wrong. And you know, I like to say the only thing I can't do is tread water. And I probably could find a way to do that if I really wanted to.
Tony Volpentest should make quite a first impression this week in Atlanta.
Yeah, here we go, everybody, oh, heavy day. Come on and say, he. Yeah. Come on. Yes, he did it. 2 words. I'm glad about it. Yes, he did it. Yes, he did it. And then rejoicing. Yes, he did. I can rejoice every day. I know that I can, because I've got victory. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Everybody hands together. Sing it with me. Oh, happy day. Come on. Come on, choir. Let's throw some love out there. Come on. I know it's a happy day. Are you glad to be here? All in the balcony. Are you glad to be here? Come on, let's sing it up there. Come on, let's sing it. Oh, happy day.
The family, all 5,000 of them. Next, the music of superstars. And then all that's left is to light the torch. For Al Mead, that means pushing his gold medal winning body up to the base of the torch, where Mark Wellman will meet him, and then fist over fist with his hands, he will climb 98 feet to the cauldron, the penultimate moment of the ceremony.
Why does the Home Depot carry so much stuff?
Everybody to drill.
The athletes have all gathered down on the floor of Olympic Stadium, and it's time to officially open the 10th Paralympic Games.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, Mr. Al Gore.
I declare the 1996 Paralympic Games of Atlanta open.
Now that the games belong to the athletes, Carly Simon, along with Hall & Oates, has a song the competitors can all relate to.
The road, it's where I go.
What good is sitting alone in the room? Come hear the music play. Life is a cabaret, oh son. Come to the cabaret. Come to cabaret. Start by living from cradle to tomb. It isn't that long a stay. Oh, life is a cabaret, oh son. Come to the cabaret. Come taste the wine. Come hear the band. Come blow your horn. Start celebrating. Like this way your table's waiting. Who's permitting some profit of gloom to wipe every smile away? Life is a cabaret, oh son. Come to the cabaret. To have this girlfriend known as Elsie, with whom I shared 4 sordid rooms in Chelsea. Now she wasn't what you call a blushing flower. As a matter of fact, she rented by the hour. The day she died, the neighbors came to snicker. Well, that's what comes from too much pills and liquor. But when I saw her laid out like a queen, she was the happiest corpse I'd ever seen. I think of Elsie to this very day. I remember how she turned to me and say, hey, what good is sitting all alone in your room? Come, hear the music play. Oh, life is a cabaret. Oh, son, come to the cabaret. And as for me, I made my mind up back in Chelsea.
Paralympics opening ceremony, Liza Minnelli gives way to Aretha Franklin.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful being back with you. Party time. I want everybody to get up and boogie in your seats when you ask. And let's give these athletes a little respect. What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, you know I got it. All that skin is slowly respecting it. Hey, baby, just when you got home.
Amidst the celebration, finally, after a 1,000-mile journey, it is in the neighborhood. The Paralympic flame is ready to become a torch.
Atlanta Paralympic Games are sponsored by Bell South, keeping you ahead of the game. Sunrise Medical, proud sponsor of the 1996 Paralympic Games. And by the Global Alliance of Northwest Airlines and KLM, featuring World Business Class.
The journey of the torch is nearly complete as it enters Olympic Stadium. The relay began in Washington, D.C. on August 6th. The flame is being carried by blind middle distance runner Tim Willis. And this is nothing new to Willis. He ran the Olympic torch at the '94 Winter Games in Lillehammer, Norway. Willis is running with his guide Jim Vargo, who was his college track coach for 4 years at Georgia Southern. The torch is passed on to Scott Hollenbeck, one of Atlanta's very own. Hollenbeck is the U.S. record holder in the 800 and 1,500 meters, and he's America's best hope for a medal in the marathon. Hollenbeck was paralyzed following an accident involving a drunken driver in 1984. And while lying in a hospital bed recovering, he saw the Olympic exhibition wheelchair race, and that lit a fire under Hollenbeck. To compete and has become the premier blind track and field athlete in the world. She set the 800-meter heptathlon record in the Olympic trials here in July. And in competition against able-bodied U.S. athletes, she is 9th in the heptathlon. Runyon has Stargardt's disease, which left her with 2,400 vision, and yet she competes in 4 track and field events. She's expected to medal in all 4 events here. She's a favorite for the gold in the heptathlon. Accepting the flame from Marla Runyon is 22-year-old Larry Banks. Banks was born with cerebral palsy. He set a world record in the 100 meters at the '92 Paralympics in Barcelona. Larry feels right at home with this crowd. He's a bookkeeper for the Atlanta Transit Authority.
At last, Al Mead, Atlanta's Al Mead, vice chairman of the board of directors for these games, a gold and silver medalist in the long jump in 2 previous Paralympics. He was hurt for the trials, and a chance to compete again was lost. Mead, who lost his leg at the age of 9 when a nail he stepped on became a bad infection, runs on a prosthetic made with carbon fiber, a shock absorber, very high tech. He is so very warm and has an enthusiasm with which he lives that makes him one of the most important athletes in America. For Al Mead, these are steps of joy, all 117 of them. At the final passing of the torch, Mark Wellman is but 98 feet from fulfilling his promise to participate and achieve, to be part of it in his own unique way. The same way Al Mead did. And here it is, the last 98 feet for this torch relay, the equivalent for Mark of doing 160 pull-ups. The flame is held in a special harness between his legs. When he was 22, he fell 100 feet down a cliff and was stranded for 30 hours before help could reach him. It left him paralyzed from the waist down. He wrote a book about his life called Climbing Back. The title fits. Once, in the solitude of Yosemite National Park, Mark climbed the famous rock face, El Capitan. That took him 7.5 days. But never has Mark Wellman done something so important in front of so many. How many have? Olympic Stadium bounces to a soulful beat, and the respect for his achievement that represents that of thousands. Wellman, as if you didn't know by now, climbs things because they are there. But while it was designed to hold the most important symbol in sport, to inspire, be majestic, many things, this tower was not designed for this. It hasn't been but a few weeks since a mechanical malfunction delayed Muhammad Ali's lighting of the Olympic torch. This evening's temperature and mood almost identical. Crowd size, too. And Mark Wellman took no chances this time, getting close enough to singe his whiskers, showing his strength, and bringing athletes of his kind ever closer to athletes of Olympic kind. What a captivating journey in every sense. The 1996 Paralympics have begun. Coverage of the 1996 Paralympic Games continues at 2 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. American swimmer Tricia
James. Like many of you, I watched the spectacle of the Centennial Summer Games in Atlanta. The images were inspiring and true to the Olympic tradition. In Atlanta this week, another group of athletes gathers in true Olympic competition as well. The Olympic torch burns for them also. They too are the elite. They hold world records and Olympic records. They come from every corner of the globe. And they've met a challenge in their lives long before they ever reach the Olympics. The core of their existence, a strong body, has been damaged by ill-fated accidents, crippling disease or disability. But they've become extraordinary and uncommon competitors, Olympians. Why Olympic competition? Because of the challenge. Where some see an obstacle, A true believer perceives only a test. Where disability places a barrier, the athlete builds the milestone of his regimen against all the world's perceptions. The physically challenged athlete goes beyond, higher, faster, stronger. Olympian in every sense of the word. The men and women of the Paralympic Games have experienced the heartbreak, the mental and physical anguish that every able-bodied athlete has endured. And then they've endured more. They've come to Atlanta to compete beside Olympians, not behind them, to cherish the medals of victory and to accept with grace the lessons of defeat. Watch their achievement, their courage, and their competitive spirit. They are outstanding athletes, fully deserving of Olympic honor.
The giant cauldron burns again, and it was an opening ceremony second to none in Paralympic history. 65,000 spectators welcomed a record 120 nations. Afghanistan, Sierra Leone, Angola, they were all there as 3,500 exuberant athletes marched into Atlanta's Olympic Stadium. The Americans played the role of home team, and the atmosphere was filled with brotherhood, goodwill, and celebration. These are the 1996 Paralympic Games.
The first medal of these games was awarded in judo. Ching Chung Lee of Chinese Taipei, appearing in his first Paralympics, took the gold. He is a blind athlete, blind since adolescence. A surprise win for the U.S., a bronze by 20-year-old Marlon Lopez of Los Angeles. Meanwhile, an American favorite awaits her chance on the track.
Olympic Stadium here in Atlanta is home to the track and field events of these Paralympic Games, just as it was home to track and field at the Olympics last month. In fact, it was this track that saw the wheelchair exhibition races at the Centennial Games, and it was 19-year-old American Sherry Becerra who won the bronze in the 800-meter exhibition, impressing the track and field community and another community as well.
The Omaha tribe of Nebraska is holding its annual powwow. And on this day, the tribe is honoring Sherry Becerra because Sherry has brought honor to her tribe.
Sherry's a great role model. I mean, you couldn't ask for anybody better to represent the tribe.
She's a credit to our family, credit to our Omaha people, and credit to all the Native Americans throughout our Indian country.
To a people looking for hope, Sherry is it.
Sherry Becerra exemplifies the spirit and dedication of the Omaha tribe by going against the current to achieve her goals and dreams.
The outlook on Native Americans isn't so high, you know, they really think negative toward Native Americans. And if you look at me, I'm like, you know, I try to be a good role model for other Native American youth, and that just makes me feel like special or be proud just to be who I am and where I'm at.
She has shown that we are people that triumph, and we're survivors, and Sherry has triumphed over what life has dealt her and turned it into something very positive.
When she was 4, she lay down for a nap one afternoon. As she slept, a mysterious virus invaded her spine, leaving her paralyzed from the waist down.
I'd look at her and she'd be in this little wheelchair, she'd be all smiles, and I'd be like, I can't stand it, you know, she don't care, you know, why do I care when she doesn't care? What is this?
Probably my strongest muscle is tricep. Probably have
have like the broadest shoulders and the longest arms. Probably have the fastest game speed in the world.
Sherry took up wheelchair racing just 2 years ago, and she is already the top American competitor at 3 distances.
She's always had long arms. And I used to say, oh, I know you would have been like a gymnast or maybe like a basketball player, but you would have been an athlete, Sherry.
I don't blame God at all for this because I feel that this was in his plan. You know, I mean, look at me. I'm like, I have the perfect body to be a wheelchair racer, and I'm good at what I do. I mean, so there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Sherry is a hero to more than just her fellow tribe members. In her hometown of Nebraska City, Nebraska, Sherry's popularity often spills over into her training.
It's like, everybody knows who Sherry Becerra is, you know. They stop, they pull me over, and they're just, I mean, even go to people's house to get water if I run out. I mean, that's how nice everybody is here.
Townspeople and tribal members look up to Sherry Becerra. She's used to it, and she wouldn't have it any other way.
This is what I am. This is who I am. I mean, this chair is like a part of me. It's like, you have your legs, I have my chair.
In the middle of Sherry Becerra's road, her biggest obstacle, Australian Louise Savage, world record holder in the 800 meters. It's been nearly 4 years since Savage lost an 800. This was the first semifinal in the 800 meters. The top 4 finishers from each semifinal move on to the final. Sherry Becerra raced in the second. After a staggered start, the racers must stay in their lanes through the first 2 turns. Louise Savage led the pack into the first turn and on into the backstretch, as expected. A 3-time gold medal winner in Barcelona, Louise Savage races men in Australia because there are no women down under who can put up a decent challenge. Both skill and economy are required in the 800 meters. A racer can set a brisk pace early and try to burn out opponents, but there's got to be enough stamina saved for the second and final lap. Close behind Louise, Chantal Petitclerc of Canada, the 800-meter record holder from that country. Petitclerc set a new Paralympic record in the 100 meters prior to this race, making her presence felt at these games. Petitclerc drafted behind Savage in the first stretch turn, and they entered the bell lap 1 and 2. Petitclerc made her move in the final lap and passed Louise Savage on the inside. She seemed strong at that point, ready to take control of the race. Then in the 3/4 turn, Savage and Petitclerc seemed to bump arms, and it set the tone for the rest of the race. Savage pulled in behind now and drafted the Montrealer. But then, in the final turn, Louise Savage searched for and found some reserve of power, showing her awesome strength. And it was all over, her unbroken streak intact. And perhaps back in the pubs of Perth, the word will get around to the men racers that Louise is still the one to beat. Sherry Becerra races next.
The 1996 Atlanta Paralympic Games are sponsored by Bell South, keeping you ahead of the game. Coca-Cola Classic, always the real thing, always Coca-Cola. And by the Global Alliance of Northwest Airlines and KLM, featuring World Business Class.
Deanna Sodoma knows what it's like to wake up one day and find out that your legs don't work. As she prepares for her 800-meter semifinal, she does know that she has commercial support.
You will find her wherever there's a morning and a road. Distance champion Deanna Sodoma, training and competing all over the world. On her way to Atlanta and the race of a lifetime, on the strength of her own determination, and on the wings of Northwest Airlines.
I've raced everywhere else, but not at this capacity of a huge Olympic event with Americans. Who knows when it'll ever be here again, so it's a great opportunity to be here.
There is strong camaraderie between Sodoma and favored Sherry Becerra, and they move into position next to each other in lanes 4 and 5. 800 meters, 2 laps. The tone for the race is immediately set ferociously by Becerra's muscle-bound upper body, which pushes her $1,600 chair and $2,000 wheels to a large advantage. Sodoma is having no such beginning, 15 yards behind. Initially, it seems only number 1844, Lily Engrini of Germany, can keep pace. And she tucks her front wheel behind Becerra. She's drafting like a stock car, aerodynamically trying to hitch a ride to the final. Sodoma has found the rhythm, and a huge push gets her back into the lead picture. By the time the bell sounds, signaling the final lap, it is apparent 3 women will battle this one out. With Sherry Becerra holding the favorite inside position, Sodoma tries to go outside, and the 2 Americans can hear each other breathe. Becerra responds and pushes hard, maintaining a lead as long as a wheel. And so it goes. The stretch run, when your arms burn. If Sodoma has one last move, this is the time. Then comes the finish. And the American duo, united by so much, are 1-2, comfortably in the final, and reminding us that in a preliminary like this, it's very much a team effort.
Just wanted to make sure that Deanna came in with me, basically. The U.S. I planned on winning, which I wanted to do, so it's been fun.
The final for Becerra and Sodoma comes in the week ahead. Elsewhere in Olympic Stadium, a long jumper and torchlighter whose injury prevented a chance to compete here in Atlanta.
Al Mead, as a 2-time medalist in these games, now someone who helps chart the course of the Paralympics, helping light the torch. What kinds of things are you thinking? What kinds of things are the Paralympians thinking?
Well, the Paralympians obviously thought that the filling of the stands with people was great. The lighting of the torch, the impact and the statement that it made for the athletes was super.
And now in America, people are not only thinking that these Paralympians are doing what they're doing, but it's how fast they're going and how high they jump. That's good.
Oh, yeah, and it has a lot to do with technology and the partnership with technology and the strides that it's making that makes a difference between a world record and first, second, or third place.
And Al Mead knows about this technology because he wears it every day.
Prosthetic devices were first introduced to the Paralympics in 1976. 20 years doesn't seem like that long ago, but in the world of prosthetic technology, that was the Ice Age. In the last 5 years, space-age materials like titanium and lightweight carbon fiber combined with cutting-edge technological design have made the prosthetics more comfortable, cut the weight in half, and vastly improved efficiency and range of motion.
In 1 year, I've cut 8 seconds, 9 seconds off my 200 and about 3.5, 4 seconds off my 100. I was so much faster than the prosthetic. Now we have a chance for me as the person to catch the prosthetic, which is great. I go to my prosthetic and say, look, I need this leg quicker. Make it quick enough so I have to keep up with this leg instead of I want to fly, but this leg won't keep up with me.
The latest development has been the FlexFoot prosthetic device. It utilizes an energy return system which helps the limb feel alive and less tiring through hydraulic and shock absorbers or springs. Like the Paralympians who use them, there appears to be no limit to what can be achieved in the future.
Another year, you know, we'll be looking at this interview saying, look at this leg this kid's running on. Who knows, you know? It's a dinosaur.
These games, and all others, are about how fast, how perfect, how many. Technology or not, it all comes down to reaching and trying to extend your limit. The question here is, how high? The Paralympic high jump, and first the lingo. Amputees above the knee, AK. And here, amputees below the knee, BK. They never competed against each other, combined into the same event until the World Championships in '94. BKs like this man get a high-tech benefit. They can run. AK's prostheses are too big and heavy. The end result here is controversy. Germany's Günter Bielitz, for example, thinks this is all unfair.
I think the high jump will be very tough because for the first time we are mixed together with the AK amputees, and that's unjustified because they can run with their prosthesis. They aren't disabled at the end. So that's really unjustified to combine two classes which must be separated.
The Paralympic view is that AKs and BKs can compete equally. Still, Great Britain's Alan Earl is someone an unconvinced Günter will be watching. Andreas Siegel of Austria is a double amputee who won bronze in Barcelona, but now the combined event complicates things. Ben Hu of China is another who'll jump on one leg. Not many knew of him until his qualifying jump missed the world record by less than an inch and was the best overall. Confident, he passes on the early jumps. He knows his body only has so many good ones in it, even fewer in this heat.
Günter Bielitz was 8 in Australia, bitten by a barracuda. Blood loss cost him his leg. He's the defending world champion, and not high enough on his first attempt. You get 3 tries at every height. Britain's Earl makes number 1 at 5'9 3/4. Hu saves himself, hangs in the shade, and we're researching the way to say laid back in Chinese.
Günter Bielitz's second attempt. He moves to the next height. His German teammate Jürgen Kern has no hip. But he too advances with the 3 others. It's a final 4. This is Andreas Siegel's third and final chance to keep up. He found his limit. And he is a sportsman.
The bar is raised to 5'10 1/2. Bielitz tosses the prosthetic aside, saying, "I don't need you right now." He's the first to advance. Interestingly, Alan Earl is the only BK or below-the-knee amputee in the final 4. And he keeps up with the AK German. Finally, Bin decides to get involved. Head first, a wobble, but the bar holds. Jürgen Kern, 7th in Barcelona, stays alive for a medal in Atlanta. Up we go to 5'11 3/4. Bielitz is first. 2 more tries left. The World Championship silver medalist is next. He too needs a do-over. Pressing up off his toes, Hu needs only 4 steps to reach the bar and clears it. Waiting seems like it was a good idea. Jürgen Kern visualizes a result, and this isn't it. What happens next is a game called King of the Hill. Bin Hu on top, watching the other 3 try to catch him. Hu now faces the coolest scenario. All their misses guarantee his gold. He's clear to go for the 16-year-old world record, 1 step at a time. At 6 feet 2 inches, he's jumping his height. Clearly, that's not his limit. 6'3 1/2 would bring him 1.5 inches from the world record. Once, then twice, the bar falls. The last chance to keep it going. By now, with much to watch, all eyes are on him, the bar, and the height. If he clears this, the world record is his. But in 3 tries, Bin could not clear the bar. Nevertheless, it's nice to miss and still win a gold medal, a relative unknown, now known by all. So in summary, we end where we began. These games are about how high, how fast, and finding your limits. And in the high jump, everyone found theirs. By the way, if who went the highest comes up, remember, you know who.
2 years of her life, she is a testament to the fact that you don't have to see to conquer. If you didn't already know Trisha Zorn was blind, could you tell from watching her cross this street? Trisha doesn't like being treated differently. She likes to do for herself. But once in a while, she'll accept the help of a friend.
They got ham, bacon, they got pancakes, they got bagels.
Bagels and cream cheese?
Yeah, they got bagels and cream cheese.
They have croissants.
Yes. You want a croissant?
Yeah, I think I have to get a croissant.
Reading something is, you know, is sometimes a barrier that I have to deal with every day. I mean, I have to bring things up close in order to read it. So like cooking or, you know, reading the paper. Other than that, I don't really see anything that's different about my day than anybody else's.
Beat on medium until 3 minutes.
At home, Trisha does most everything normally. She's accustomed herself to the physical world around her. She just brings her world in a little closer.
The Giants now lead the Reds 4-2 at the end of 3.
And when she's out of the house, Trisha's mobility is only wanting for a driver.
What's that speed limit say?
25.
Good guess.
What was it?
25.
Yes!
Ready, go.
In the pool, where speed limits are not an issue, she's nothing short of a Paralympic legend. Mark Spitz, Matt Biondi, and Janet Evans have 21 gold medals between them. Trisha Zorn, over 4 Paralympics, has 39.
You know, people say, you know, you're the legend, or, you know, in Paralympic swimming, or, you know, in competitive swimming, and I don't see that. I think that anybody can be a legend, or anybody can, you know, make history if they just can do the best that they can.
Trisha was born with aniridia, a disease that left her legally blind. She sees at 20 feet what normal 20/20 vision sees at 1,000 feet.
If it's an outdoor pool, usually I'll count my strokes going down the pool. I can sometimes make out the black line on the bottom of the pool. And when I'm about 3 meters out, I can pick out the tee that's usually on the wall so I can know when to make my turn.
The golden girl of the Paralympics, she enjoys a fame reserved for the elite class athletes. Sports immortality comes on a board game, and worldwide recognition suddenly makes one a spokesperson.
This is Trisha Zorn. She's visually impaired, and she rules the pool.
She wants to be accepted for what she can do with her talents. She says, I don't want to be known for my disability. I want to be known for my ability.
Trisha Zorn may not be able to make out these words, but she knows their meaning. That the number 1 has been next to her name at the Paralympics 39 times. In her first event in these games, Trisha Zorn has been dealt some bad Paralympic luck. There are not enough swimmers equal to her eyesight level to complete a field in this butterfly final, so she is forced to swim against others who can see better than she can. Swimming for the gold has suddenly become an almost impossible obstacle, but the kind of thing you must clear from your mind. The Georgia Tech Aquatic Center quiets for the start. Immediately, Trisha Zorn falls off the lead in lane 2, second from the top. She can feel the wake of those in front of her. That's a feeling, not a sight. There was an advertisement recently that touted Trisha's dominance. It read, Trisha Zorn can't see, but that's okay, everyone's behind her anyway. This must be a strange feeling for her. At the touch, she's holding 5th, but losing ground. Trisha holds 9 world records swimming against others with eyesight equal to hers. Those records won't help her here. soon it has to be the camera's job to focus on the race and the leaders. When that happens, she disappears from view. Then the finish, where another American, Elizabeth Scott, claimed the gold. Tricia Zorn looked like just another swimmer, looked very uncomfortable, reminded herself these things happen in the Paralympics all the time. She heard her score and shook her head.
You know, you can't do anything. It's, you know, it's something that the committee chooses to do, and, you know, we're here as athletes, and the choice isn't really ours. You know, I think they should first ask the athlete who are involved in the situation, and maybe we can change that.
Defeat is a hard pill to swallow for a constant winner. Coming up, Argentina and Great Britain meet on the basketball court. And wait till you meet El Capitan.
For the opening day men's basketball matchup between the United States and Iraq. The United States is here, and they are playing. Iraq is not. We became initially suspicious about Iraq's intentions to arrive in Atlanta when, after faxing their delegation in Iraq about 2 weeks ago, they responded by asking whether CBS Sports would be interested in contributing to their campaign to come here. The check is not in the mail. So for Iraq, their Paralympics, never to start, is not to be. For the United States, they were left to play their opening round as an inter-squad game for the fans who did arrive here at the Omni. The U.S. is the world champion and favored to win Paralympic gold at these games. But blue-white scrimmages against your teammates, that's starting to get old.
We have been training together for about 2 years, and we really need a common foe. We've been training against each other, and we're kind of chomping at the bit, so we're ready to play somebody. And we found out they weren't going to be here. We were a little disappointed.
By sheer coincidence, and we're not making this up, the first round schedule also pitted Argentina against Great Britain, two more countries who aren't likely to share a cup of tea anytime soon. Now, none of the players in this game were wounded in the Falkland Islands War, so it wasn't too surprising to see the teams exchange gifts and handshakes before the game. But then, the game began. Argentina soon learned why Britannia rules European wheelchair basketball. The Brits may be the biggest threat to the Americans in this tournament. And early on against Argentina, Britain was dazzling. With some slick playmaking, suddenly it's 23-1. It was almost too much to take for the man the Argentines call El Capitan, 40-year-old Juan Jerez. When he wasn't pleading with officials, he was berating his teammates. El Capitan was a show in himself. By halftime, Britain had clearly established its superiority, building a 43-11 lead. As the second half started, it was more of the same. But where was El Capitan? Had the proud wheelchair manufacturer from Buenos Aires called it quits? No, we found him in a back room making a pit stop. El Capitan wasn't about to give in. As Britain's lead continued to grow, the game's intensity continued to build. El Capitan was back, battling for defensive position underneath. Every challenge was taken personally. Perhaps it's only appropriate that El Capitan's idol is Sir Charles. No, not the royal one, Sir Charles as in Barkley. El Capitan wasn't above baiting the British. But Britain's outside shooting was even better than El Capitan's as the lead ballooned to 50. El Capitan refused to surrender, continuing to move without the ball. He would wind up with half of Argentina's 36 points. But it was not enough to keep up with Britain's 93. When the shouting was over, and there was a lot, the Argentines and British shook hands. El Capitan even offered a hand. Sort of. For the British, it was probably the most difficult 57-point victory in memory.
Yeah, it was tough.
those guys, they don't compromise at all. You know, they seemed as if they were wanting to put as many Brits on the floor as they could, and they succeeded pretty well.
Yeah, it was difficult, said a deflated El Capitan. But what could you do against a stronger team? Maybe say, wait till we get you in soccer. Games where the question is, how far? Javelin for the visually impaired. Retinitis pigmentosa can cause blindness, as it did for Rich Ruffalo, a New Jersey biology teacher and track coach. As he stretches, he might be thinking of the principal who wouldn't accept his resignation 15 years ago. Either way, he's definitely thinking of mom and dad.
I had lost my eyesight through the retinitis pigmentosa, and I needed an outlet. And I was a little angry then, but now I found my purpose. I'm here to show that everybody that, despite obstacles, that life does not end. It simply segues to new beginnings. And I want to do this today. My parents are here. My goal is to win a gold medal and present it to my parents on their 50th golden wedding anniversary. They're here today. That's my dream.
Richard! Able to hear those cheers, the one-time javelin, shot, discus, and powerlifting champion launches the stick. 127 feet 11 inches on the first of 6 attempts. Ruffalo seeks out some shade and is uneasy. There's something wrong in his leg. A muscle's not right. What bad timing. This is Vytautas Skirnius of Lithuania. 129 and an inch. Good for the lead. And for the record, everyone wears a mask, just in case someone's not as blind as they say. Ruffalo works the leg. Is it responding? And now the #1 qualifier, Minaho Ozaki of Japan. 10 feet farther than the Lithuanian. This news is very well received by Ozaki. With his leg screaming like his coach, Ruffalo betters his distance by 8 inches, but still that keeps him in 3rd. And mom and dad know this is not going according to plan. Skirnius of Lithuania with his best throw. 139 feet 3 inches. Enormous, but 6 inches short of the Japanese throw, meaning Minaho Ozaki wins the gold. And Rich Ruffalo had to readjust his dream.
Mom, these are for you. Happy anniversary. I tried to bring home the gold. This is for you guys, Pop. You could be the holder of this. They tell me it looks gold if you look at it carefully.
Well, it looks gold to me.
Hey, happy anniversary, my parents' 50th anniversary. It's September 1st. My dream was to give them a gold medal on their 50th on national television. But as far as I'm concerned, just having my family here, that's gold to me. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you.
It's business as usual. The meetings
dedicated to the memory of 3 Southern heroes. It is the setting for wheelchair tennis, where heroes of a brand new era are looking to leave a lasting mark. Hope Llewellyn will leave an impression that is distinctly hers, whether you like it or not.
She's got to take her shades off. It's not Barbie, it's Hope. She doesn't need those shades anymore. She needs a wheelchair now.
For some, inward strength is derived from outward weakness. In the case of Hope Llewellyn, a tragedy literally unlocked a new life. After only 3 years, Llewellyn is the #2 ranked player in the U.S. Never serious about the game when she was able-bodied, she's now poised a mere heartbeat away from a gold medal in wheelchair tennis. All this almost 7 years after a freak accident that nearly killed her.
I was laying out there and I said, I cannot believe this is how I'm going to die. This is what's going through my head. I'm just going, you know how you're like, darn, you know, I was like, I can't believe this is how I'm going to die. This is nuts. I don't want to die like this.
22-year-old Hope Llewellyn, a Continental Airline employee, lost her right leg today in surgery. She was run over by a taxiing Scandinavian Airlines jet yesterday at O'Hare. Tonight, she's listed in critical condition. Doctors at Lutheran General Hospital worked on both her legs for 9 hours.
So when I woke up the next day, I was so happy. I was like laying there and I opened my eyes and I went, yes, I made it.
And such was her iron will. She was back on her feet just weeks after the amputation. And suddenly, her life was finding new purpose. She tried basketball. Then, coaxed by friends, she found that tennis felt more like her game. Now, physical exercise is training, a regimen to become world-class. It was a change in attitude and outlook. She had discovered a person within who was quite a different character, headed in quite a different direction. And now, going all out is the only way Hope Llewellyn is going.
The worst thing that I think is probably going to happen to me other than death has already happened, so I think, oh, I can go do whatever. What more is going to happen to me? So that might be a bad attitude, but it's fun.
Absolutely out of the question for this free spirit.
I get perceived in many ways of, rebellious, which I guess I am rebellious to a lot of things. But as long as I'm doing something that I enjoy doing, the way I enjoy doing it, makes me happy.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Nothing is too radical for Hope Llewellyn these days. Her teammates have a credo for her. With hope, there is no fear.
I won't do it. Never mind.
Looking for new digs in
won't do
Florida and living a Spartan existence can take a toll on neatness and order. But she'll do anything to devote full time to tennis.
I love working hard to get to the event and show how hard you've worked. I want to be the best wheelchair tennis player of the time.
An appreciation for time, a goal, a deadline is perhaps the greatest motivator. Hope Llewellyn has realized how nothing can be taken for granted, especially the time of your life. Hope Llewellyn's first singles match is against unseeded Kane Kitamoto of Japan. Rules are the same, except Paralympians get 2 bounces of the ball between hits. Kitamoto's forehand is surprising and seems to have Llewellyn a little off balance for most of the afternoon. Could a rain delay that kept Llewellyn waiting 5 hours for her match have affected her game? The first set goes easily. Kitamoto keeps her cool in the Georgia heat and humidity, but lets Llewellyn back into the match. Llewellyn wins the second set, 6-3. But in the third set, Kitamoto returns to form. At match point, she sends Hope scampering after a deep corner shot that takes Llewellyn way out of position. The cross-court winner seals the match. Kitamoto in 3 sets, 6-1, 3-6, 7-5.
Yeah, it's disappointing, but I was really actually quite surprised to make it to Atlanta. I was gearing for Sydney because there's a lot of good U.S. players, and just I was pretty excited to even make it to Atlanta. It was a great experience, and on to doubles.
Next, gold medalist Dan Jansen with some thoughts on the games of the 10th Paralympics.
The Paralympic Games are sponsored by Bell South, keeping you ahead of the game. IBM, worldwide Olympic sponsor of the 1996 Paralympic Games, and by the Home Depot, proud to be a sponsor of the 1996 Paralympic Games.
Number 1665 is Tucker, Georgia's Tim Willis. He hasn't seen a finish line since he was 10, and is one of 8 competitors beginning the Paralympic 10,000-meter final. They're all blind and run with a guide. Willis sets the pace, has since early on, and leads at halfway. But with 6 laps to go, Mexico's Alejandro Guerrero steals Willis's lead. He finishes first for the gold. Willis is almost 2 minutes slower than his world record time. His twin brother is watching the events and will remind a withered Willis he still has 2 more events in these games. It's also a good idea to meet the one who's been better than you.
Good race. How old are you?
These Paralympics are 72 hours old, and Olympian Dan Jansen has some observations.
During opening ceremonies, I stood down on the field, surrounded by the athletes, and it really reminded me of my first Olympics. I had no expectations, no press hounding me, almost no pressure, no fantasies of financial gain. I was very simply just happy to be there. And seeing these athletes come in here, I saw a guy come in with tears streaming down his face. Another athlete was reading the scoreboard to his teammate who was visually impaired. They were all singing and chanting. I thought to myself, isn't it great when it's not tainted, when it's just for the love of the sport and the competition? A girl in a wheelchair called me over, sitting in the infield. She said, I gotta ask you something. Are the real ones this good? And I thought, you don't need the real ones. This is your own real one right here. The intensity, the pride, the camaraderie of the athletes needs no comparison. These games stand apart, and their achievement merits their own recognition. People often ask me about what I went through to finally get a gold medal. There is no comparison at all to what these athletes have done to get here. I have never seen people more focused on what they can do, what they can achieve. They may come here with less stature than Olympians, but they leave here, all of them, much greater athletes, much more accomplished men and women. We're all broken in some way, I guess, and some more than others. But the unbroken spirit can compensate for the body. I've seen it happen. And your ability can transform disability into triumph. And that's the feeling I get being here at the Paralympics.
It has taken time for these Paralympians, but they're getting their wish. They are, through a pure effort, making the world of those who have what they might not, less fixated on what they've overcome, as amazing as that is at times. What is most riveting now is how high, how fast, how great. Join us next weekend as coverage of the 1996 Paralympic Games
On most days, Canada and the U.S. are allies. But on the final lap of this race, the rivalry was fierce, the jostling unfriendly, the Canadian victorious. Scott Hollenbeck had no answers. But Team Hollenbeck didn't ask for any.
It's a little bit more pressure than I'd like, but, you know, I love them, and they've been here for me for years, and if they're happy with the silver medal, I'm happy too.
The color of the medal did matter to Scott Hollenbeck. He wanted to deliver gold to his family and friends. Nevertheless, it was a race that delivered his message, helping people to see ability outweighing disability. For Scott Hollenbeck, mission accomplished.
Baratin was in first. Now there was a sense of urgency for Petal as he wheeled in for his second attempt. Petal had failed at 346 pounds. He would have to add 6 pounds on the bar to keep up with the Nigerian and the Korean. There was a pause as he had to wait for the referee's ruling. Anthony Petal was back, but not for long. It had taken a world record to beat him 4 years earlier. He was getting closer to the world record now with each attempt. Jung set the bar at 357 pounds. The lead belonged to Korea. The pressure was on the Nigerian from Benin City, an ancient town known for its bronze carvings. Baratin wasn't interested in anything bronze. He would try to match Jung at 357 pounds on his third attempt. A miss. Baratin could only win silver or bronze.
Sorry, there's no lift.
Backstage, Petal had a decision to make. A 357-pound lift would only tie him with Jung. Petal and his coach opted to pass and go for 363 pounds. The Brits' tactics meant Jung's turn was up. He would attempt 363 pounds, equaling the world mark which had beaten him in Barcelona. A clean lift would force Petal to match the weight. A miss, and Petal would be in position to snatch the lead with a clean lift of his own. The pressure was suddenly on the 25-year-old sports administrator from Northampton, England.
Come on, let's go. You can do this.
Petal had lifted 363 pounds in training, but never in competition. Weightlifting's like that. A good lift, and the man who had yet to win a major event in his career was still in contention for gold. A miss, and he would add another bronze to his collection. No lift and no title. The gold belonged to Jung, the silver to the high school student from Benin City, Nigeria. Petal had his second bronze.
I got a bronze medal 4 years ago as well, so yeah, I'm happy. I got a medal, so that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
But there was one more task left for Jung, a world record attempt at 365 pounds. A new world record for the subway worker from Korea. When it was over, the realization of what he had done hit home. Jung had quite a day.
Archery is to the origin of the Paralympics what the marathon is to the Olympic Games of ancient Greece. If for nothing else but beauty and dignity, archery honors well the tradition of the Paralympics. Featured on the poster for the Tokyo Games in 1964, it has maintained a steady following. Never called the fastest growing, quiet consistency seems to be its hallmark. Wheelchair athletes have adapted well to the skill, but it takes time. The sitting position makes it much harder. The battle for the bronze medal. Aaron Cross of the United States, the #1 seed. The distance, 70 meters at a target that's divided into 10 scoring rings, 1 to 10, outside to center. Kiyoshi Minami of Japan is the returning gold medalist from Barcelona. For Minami and Cross, this is a come-down. 12 shots, a shootout for the bronze. Cross and Minami are both quadriplegic. Aaron Cross hit a support van in a cycling race when he was 15. He took up skydiving, still does it.
Cross answers with a 7.
Kiyoshi Minami fell out of the sky. His homemade hang glider equipped with a motor crashed in a field outside Tokyo. Minami is hitting all 8s and 9s and 2 bullseyes. Aaron Cross is struggling. He's off his game. The release, all important, is braced like a guided missile. A 6. Minami's unshakable. Cross does some reconnaissance on the shot. A 9. Minami's total, 102. Aaron Cross has one last shot. An 8. Cross scores 87. In archery, it's a blowout.
I guess I just mentally wasn't prepared for the elimination round. I was in the ranking round, and I was in practice, and got over here, and the shots felt good, but I brought too much forward with my elbow, and that will take a 10 all the way down to a 6 or a 5, and those are what killed me.
Next, Tony Volpentest in the 100-meter dash. He thinks 11 seconds is possible. No one's ever come.
Volpentest prepared for his semifinal run. The main question wasn't whether he would qualify for the final. What people wanted to know was whether Tony Volpentest could lower his own world best of 11:46. Yes, 11.46, or a 1.5 seconds from the fastest ever run by anyone. On this same track last month, Canada's Donovan Bailey had run a 9.84 to win the Olympic 100. Volpentest breezed into the finals, yet his time of 11.66 was slower than his gold medal run 4 years ago. No other sprinter in these semifinals would even crack 12 seconds, let alone dream of running faster than 11.
It was good to get the first race out of the way, get to it tomorrow. You know, there's going to be a bigger crowd, it's going to mean more, and it's going to be a lot different race.
Then, as he was visiting his mom and dad and wife in the stands, an unexpected treasure. The Nicholas family of Ohio had brought their 3-year-old son, Grant, to meet Tony. Grant was born without his left leg and left arm.
Our son has a prosthetic leg and a prosthetic arm. And to see these guys out here just flying, it's amazing.
The Nicholases had never heard of Tony Volpentest or the Paralympics until they saw a recent 48 Hours feature. In Tony, they saw hope.
You never know, maybe he'll be here someday.
Tony Volpentest had been where Grant Nicholas is today. Tony's parents didn't know if he would ever walk when he was born 23 years ago. Then on a winter day in 1974, Tony's first smile-filled steps. Clearly, he loved being a man in motion. On the afternoon of the 100-meter final, the long struggle to get to this level to this day was uppermost in Tony's mind.
It's really not about times and people's expectations and any of that. It's about the work you've done to get here, and you know that you've prepared yourself the best way you can. And at this point, you know, there's nothing else that can be done, either ready or not.
A final run through the checklist with Coach Brian Hoddle.
These are the good things that you and I agreed are going to happen. World record, gold medal, good press.
And it was time to go. What Tony didn't expect at the stadium was a rain delay. Chances for a record time were even slimmer. When the rain subsided, one of Volpentest's biggest sponsors arrived. Ross Perot has helped pay Tony's training expenses the last 3 years. but this would be the first time he would see Tony run.
There you go. Hey. Look at
Tony Volpentest was the favorite, no question. His rivals from lanes 1 to 8 knew it. Never mind that he was the only racer in the field with prosthetics on both legs. Never mind that he was the only racer in the field without hands on either arm. Paint cans topped with padding take the place of forearms. Whatever it takes. A world record, 11.36. Tony Volpentest had come within a second and a half of Donovan Bailey's world record run at the Olympic Games.
It's great to be in the United States, to be able to break the record in the United States. And, you know, I can't lose back. This is an international event. And at the same time that I'm here, I'm also representing my country, and that in itself is a great feeling. As Tony Volpentest was leaving the stadium, one little voice cut through the noise. Hey, hi, Tony. Hi, how you doing?
That of 3-year-old Grant Nicholas.
You're doing good. He really rooted for you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Congratulations, Tony.
Then Grant and his dad turned to resume their lives. Changed for the better, we think, by what they saw.
I can't see my competition. I can't see the finish line.
I do what I do in practice, and at the end of the day, they get a calculator out, and if I have more points than anybody else, I'll accept the gold medal.
Urs Cully of Switzerland, referred to by Bourgeois, won the Barcelona gold medal in discus, the long jump gold here in Atlanta. Versatility makes him a threat. And so it begins.
Mohammed Hassani of Iran jumps just short of 13 feet. It's the best of his 3 jumps. So it's a keeper. Kirk Collier has been chasing Bourgeois since he started this 3 years ago. A little better than 15 feet. Something for Bourgeois to go after this time.
Bourgeois first learned about the Paralympics from an article in Sports Illustrated. That it inspired him to get here, well, that's powerful writing. His second jump is farther than anyone else's, just over 16 feet. There's a lot of camaraderie mixed in with the rivalry. The ground crew sets the landing pad for Urs Colley's launch. It is a spectacular effort, more than 18 feet. Good for the lead. The man shows everyone why he won gold in the event. The next challenge in the pentathlon is the shot put. To prepare, Team USA changes sneakers and legs.
The 1996 Atlanta Paralympic Games are sponsored by Bell South, keeping you ahead of the game. IBM, worldwide Olympic sponsor of the 1996 Paralympic Games. And by Kodak and the Kodak Picture Guarantee.
Communication is the link that ties us all together. That's why at these Paralympic Games, you'll find some of the most high-tech communications and some of the simplest. Bell South, keeping you ahead of the game.
Elle devient plus petite.
Ogni giorno la rete globale di computer.
To desu ka?
Pošperaj po dalekej starej bibliotece.
Gerðu litlu búðina Javelins að smá fjölþjóðafyrirtæki.
Curioso? Vil IBM være hos dem?
Just plug in.
Kom esse o Yewon.
Everybody sees things in a different light. New Kodak Advantix film and cameras with IX record light information in a whole new way to make automatic adjustments for backlight, indoor light, and flash, so your pictures can be the best you've ever taken in just about any light. Kodak's advanced photo system, Kodak Advantix, take pictures further.
It's business as usual. The meeting's tomorrow, and time means everything. That's why this business traveler chooses to fly Northwest Airlines.
I get the feeling that Northwest really cares about Deanna, the racer, the person, and the business traveler.
Like Northwest, when it comes to getting there on schedule, distance champion Deanna Sodoma just won't settle for second best.
Face it, if I don't get to the starting line on time, I don't get to the finish line.
John McEnroe, Lindsay Davenport, and Andre Agassi serve it up at the Arthur Ashe Kids Day. Plus, the American Express $1 million U.S. Open return, next on CBS.
For more than 30 years, wheelchair racing used the same basic four-wheeler, but rules and specifications were about to change.
The technological revolution in adaptive sports and recreation began with pioneer athletes. These athlete creators demanded and continue to demand the most of their performance. In 20 years, marathon times dropped from 3 hours to 1.5 hours. And this trickle-down technology has had serious implications for everyday wheelchair users like myself. This revolution is still in its infancy, transforming negative images of wheelchairs into positive images of creativity, mobility, and freedom. Wheelchairs are now cool.
One important pioneer was Jim Martinson, a marathoner who lost both legs in Vietnam. He was one of wheelchair racing's good boys. Then, in the 70s, with the marathon craze, he became a rebel.
When I first came out with that chair and I got involved with it, pretty soon I started getting telephone calls from people that are in the hospital, new injuries, people that wanted to get in the sport and saying, Jim, could you build me a racing chair that would fit me as a paraplegic? Since I was an amputee, we had to design it differently. Once they let us start making the chairs longer and stop any limitations on that, we were able to now get rid of one of the wheels.
The revolution in racing chairs continues, having an ever greater impact on the design and manufacture of mainstream everyday wheelchairs.
Jean Driscoll, perhaps the greatest wheelchair racer of her generation. But for all her success over the years, she has only one individual Paralympic gold medal. She has a chance to add to that number But Driscoll has a problem, a very big problem. Her name is Louise Sauvage, and she's attacking these games with reckless abandon. 2 gold medals in convincing fashion, Paralympic records, world records. She simply refuses to be beaten, and who can argue? Back home in Australia, she is the champion who conquered Atlanta. 7 Boston Marathon victories are Jean Driscoll's claim to fame. She is simply the best distance racer ever, the dominant figure in her sport. But against Louise Sauvage, Driscoll is on the defensive in the 5,000.
I need to wear her out. Either that or tactically get her in a position where she won't be a factor in the final sprint. If I can box her in, that would be ideal.
Driscoll, the distance specialist, takes on Sauvage in a distance that neither one is especially known for, 5,000 meters. Driscoll has never beaten Sauvage in a final sprint, and she doesn't want it to come down to that. In a race of this length, starting position is inconsequential. Strategy is everything. Early on, pace is the key. Into the second lap, Driscoll makes her first surge. Sauvage is close behind. Just 1 lap later, Driscoll drops back, letting others do the work. With 7 laps remaining, Driscoll and Sauvage know this race is really between them. Driscoll is pushing the pace up front in hopes of wearing down her rival. But 1 lap later, Driscoll moves aside, letting Sauvage take the role of leader. Both know there is plenty of time left. Energy is something to be conserved. But not for long. Just before the bell, Driscoll and Sauvage position themselves for the final push. One more lap. Which one will make the first move? And when? Near the home stretch, Sauvage bulldozes ahead. Finally, Driscoll maneuvers to the outside. There is only so much distance left, only so much time for this design to work, and only so much energy. The 29-year-old would be beaten by the younger, more powerful Sauvage. Driscoll couldn't have done much more. No plan, no technique could overcome the force of Louise Sauvage.
Tactically, I'm happy with my race, and I had a good final sprint, so I would have liked the gold, but I'll take my silver.
And if 3 gold medals weren't enough, Sauvage would provide further proof of her prowess just 90 minutes later. This time, she blew away the competition in the 400 meters. 2 gold medals and a world record, all in the span of an hour and a half.
It's wicked. It's great. I never ever thought I'd do that, and it's great.
In total, 4 gold medals. Imagine what the Aussie will do in Sydney in 4 more years.
In the pentathlon, it's time to see whose upper body can join with a dance step of the lower part and heave one of these. Gentlemen, take your best shot. Urs Colley's long jump has given him the lead, and his selection has been made. His competition must be fueled by a weakness they haven't seen yet. Thomas Bourgeois in third chalks up big time. Everywhere anything could be slowed by sticky, sweaty skin.
Kirk Collier is in fifth after the long jump. It puts early pressure on him to do better than just keep up.
In an event that can trace its origins to the very beginnings of sport, Bourgeois is aided by the most high-tech of aids. Graphite, shock absorbers, the latest. This event is the best of 3 throws, and this is his first. Feet, 9 3/4 inches. That's the longest so far.
Urs Colley of Switzerland has something to shoot for, but at 38 feet 4 3/4 inches, he comes up short. Kirk Collier back for more. 43 feet 2 inches, a clear response to the pressure.
Mohammed Hassani, the unknown quantity from Iran. 43 feet 6 3/4 inches. A shocker, and he's a contender in fourth. It's the Swiss and the Americans, though, 1, 2, 3. The next event is 100 meters, a completely different ball game.
I lost my leg when I was 9 years old.
Impossible
Something
is untried.
impossible is something untried.
I was born visually impaired.
Faith
is a decision.
I was born with cerebral palsy.
There are no hopeless bodies, only
hopeless hearts.
So what's your excuse?
Swatch, official timekeeper, 96 Paralympic Games.
Just up from 40 Deuce and Dream Street, there's a joint that jumps with solid swinging and hep-cat scat. Where the Heidi-Ho Man and the Godfather of Soul hit the high notes with every cool in the pool. It's a house on fire called the Cotton Club, where every night the vibe is hot and live gigs aren't the only things that cook, because the club chases up some of the best choff in town. So if you're hip to the scene, grab some threads and bring your Visa card, because the club jives and jukes at a shake, but never with American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
I see you sitting there, nice and cozy. That's right. I see you sitting there watching your TV on your soft, comfortable couch. You got no plans to move for the rest of the day. You got your feet up, you got your chips, you got your cold beer. Hey, have you got any water?
Scott Hollenbeck didn't make it to Atlanta by just sitting there. That's why we're proud to sponsor the 1996 Paralympic Games and all the Sunrise athletes, like Scott.
Oh, really? Have you got any water?
Swimming without arms, running without feet. At the Paralympics, athletes overcome physical disabilities with prosthetics and courage. But many of this year's Paralympians are visually impaired. So what do you do when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel?
I've got the world on a string.
Well, you find someone who can.
Around my finger.
Visually impaired runners are permitted to run with partners or guides. The pair runs bound together by a string. But this bond between them is much stronger than any string.
It does take a lot of experience by the guide runner to know what to look for, know what to communicate. And over time, the blind runner and the guide runner become very relaxed together and used to running with each other.
Those guide runners and athletes who've worked together for a long period of time, you will immediately spot them on the track, because as you watch them, particularly like going down the backstretch, all you're going to see is the athlete. The guide and the runner will be in the exact same motion and sync.
It's tandem cycling and no strings attached. The sighted pilot steers while the visually impaired athlete produces the power. Coordination and teamwork is intense. This is the only sport where the sighted partner and the athlete both earn medals. In other sports, the help an athlete receives isn't from a guide, but a coach, who provides cues, keeping the athlete in the know. Like knowing when to throw, when to turn, when to jump, when a mark is near, and sometimes when they've won.
The Olympic Velodrome, Stone Mountain Park, a place where Paralympic cyclists come looking for speed, the kind that wins. Enter the team of Scott Evans and Kara Dunn. He's a grad student in astrophysics. She's magna cum laude from Harvard, third-year law school at UCLA. a tandem of beaucoup IQ. On the race circuit, they're called the Professor and Mary Ann, and today it's about a 3-hour tour. An afternoon of speed, but the Australians have the kind that wins. For Cara Dunn, riding well in the Paralympics proves that her athletic career wasn't ended by blindness or cancer. She had sight until age 5, when a cancer called retinoblastoma took away light perception completely. She became a medal-winning alpine skier for the U.S. in 1984 and 88. I was born to race, she says. With a relapse of the cancer in 1993, she turned to cycling. Within 2 years, she won a medal in the national championships for blind athletes. I'm an athlete who's blind, she insists, not the other way around. Finally, enough speed for a win and a bronze medal at the expense of their American teammates. Scott Evans, a nationally ranked cyclist in his own right, couldn't resist piloting for Cara Dunn. Scott had heard about Cara from friends, heard that she was a gifted rider. Dunn wants Evans to be more aggressive, to take more risks. It's all in Cara Dunn's nature. A nature that demands the best and is looking to the future.
I was a little disappointed with that ride because I think if it would have been pure skill and speed, we might have gotten it. But on the second ride, you know, they just took us fairly. And
yeah.
I mean, we did our best tactically and speed-wise, so I'm happy.
We already told the Australians that we weren't going to forget, and we're coming right after them in Sydney.
Yeah,
yep.
Good. Sydney, Australia. Not a bad cruise for the Professor and Mary Ann.
From the track to the stadium for event 3 of the Pentathlon. Mohammad Hassani of Iran is one of 6 ready to begin the 100-meter dash, event 3 of the 5-event pentathlon. The American duo came out of the shot put shining in 2nd and 3rd. This is Urs Kali's first chance to show his strengths lie well beyond the field events. Kali covers 100 meters in 12.59 seconds. Unglamorously, Bourgeois falls, recovers. He and Collier finished 3rd and 4th.
In all honesty, I'm not going to kid anybody. I'm not a true sprinter. These short legs, I do what I can. And I got to the tape, and I was a little before the tape, and I leaned off my sound side. And if I would have put this leg down like this, the chance for hyperextension is just too great. And you don't think about that, but your body won't allow you to do that.
I'm hoping to pick up some room in the discus. I got some decent throws in me, I think. Hopefully, I'm gonna need them. But so far, so good. Thanks.
This is a very long day. Coming up, the Bosnian landscape is littered with thousands of landmines. Some victims become survivors and Paralympians.
You'll find her wherever there's a morning and a road. Distance champion Deanna Sodoma, training and competing all over the world. On her way to Atlanta and the race of a lifetime, on the strength of her own determination, and on the wings of Northwest Airlines, who can take you from wherever you call home to wherever on earth you chase your dreams.
Northwest has a network that will take me any place I need to go.
Some people just know how to fly.
Her drinking was destroying her family.
She doesn't want any help.
Can an angel reach her before another pays the price? Felicia Rashad is touched by an angel. Then, he was the first child to divorce his parents.
You lied to me!
Will he be allowed to stay with those who love him?
Nobody's going to take you away, I promise you.
Richard Crenna, A Place to Be Loved, CBS tonight.
Play action, that's our thing.
Get him in motion and then...
Over the top. Down the middle.
Saturday, September 7th, UCLA plays Tennessee.
We'll be ready.
Just watch!
I'm Monica Oliverty. A Virginia truck driver is charged in that deadly accident on I-85. 6 people were killed, more than a dozen injured. Investigators say 57-year-old Esau Dixon was speeding. And negotiators in a 3-day-old Franklin County hostage standoff have settled in for the long haul. A power pole was erected for a command post near the home where Douglas Carter and his girlfriend have been holed up since Thursday. The two are wanted on kidnapping, attempted murder, and armed robbery charges. More news later.
Now at Lee Toyota, the Toyota Warehouse, it's final sale 96.
These are prices I can afford.
It all comes together. Giant warehouse inventory, lowered warehouse prices, reduced warehouse financing during final sale 96. No one beats them. Choose from over 70 96 Corollas or 50 96 Tacomas. $149 down or $149 a month. Your choice.
You have to see these prices to believe them.
The year's lowest prices, the year's best warehouse deal. Final sale 96 at Lee Toyota, the Toyota Warehouse.
Count on David Crabtree and WRAL TV5.
Imagine the joy of it all for Ala Osmanovic and Mustafa Gudja as the Bosnian team marched into Olympic Stadium last week for the opening ceremony. Just before entering the stadium, they had kissed their nation's flag because, as Mustafa said, so many have given their lives for it. The bitter 3-year civil war between Serbs and Muslims tore Bosnia asunder, leaving thousands dead and many more wounded. The madness of the war is why Ala Osmanovic and Mustafa Gudja are here in Atlanta this week. Ala was 24 when a mine blew off part of his right leg.
Sports brought me back to life. It made me forget about that black day when I never thought I would walk again.
Mustafa Gudja wasn't sure he would live, let alone walk, after he stepped on a Serbian landmine in 1993.
We had no medicine, no medical instruments at the time. I had to amputate my own leg with primitive tools. I lost liters and liters of blood. In 15 days, I lost something like 100 pounds. I weighed no more than 90 pounds.
Making their story all the more improbable is the makeup of their 3-man team at these Paralympics. Ala and Mustafa are Bosnian Muslims. Their coach, Zoran Divcic, is a Bosnian Serb.
I don't look at Zoran as a trainer. I look at him like a father. That's what he is to me here. He tells me what I need to do, how to do it. I don't look at him like a Serb, and he doesn't look at me like a Muslim.
These guys are really great people. And when they need help, I give them the maximum, as if they were my own 2 kids, even if they are a little bit grown up.
Ala Osmanovic became the first Bosnian ever to compete in the Paralympics when he stepped to the line for the semifinals of the 100-meter dash for below-the-knee amputees. He had only started sprinting 2 years ago as part of his rehabilitation. Running in lane 9, the toughest lane possible, Ala gave everything. Many felt sympathy as he lay on the ground, but inside, Ala was thrilled with his 8th-place effort, for he had set a Bosnian record. That same night, Mustafa prepared for the first of his 2 events, the shot put. As Zoran watched from the stands, Mustafa nearly set a personal best on his first toss. Now 42, Mustafa had been a premier runner during his day, during Yugoslavia's day. Now he could only watch others in the shot put, wondering if he could ever be outstanding again. Mustafa would finish 14th, but like Ala, he was content with just being in Atlanta, with just representing the country he had nearly given his life for. When the Javelin competition began 3 days later, Mustafa was in pain. An infection had set in at the bottom of his amputated leg. Little was expected of him in this event against athletes who had never seen war. Mustafa had thrown his first javelin only 2 months ago, and a bullet fragment lodged in his right shoulder didn't help. Somehow, someway, the javelin flew out of Mustafa's hand on the first toss. His distance? 156 feet, 25 feet further than Mustafa had ever thrown in his life. Discovering that he was pretty good at this javelin thing, Mustafa let loose on a second throw. Incredibly, Mustafa added another 6 feet to his personal best. After 2 rounds, 42-year-old Mustafa Gudja of the little village of Žepa, Bosnia, was in 2nd place. Zoran, the Serb, who had volunteered to coach Mustafa the Muslim, could hardly contain himself. Mustafa could hardly contain himself either. He just had to tell someone how he had bettered his personal best by 10 meters. Reality finally set in and dreams of a medal slipped away. By the time he gripped the javelin for his 6th and final throw, Mustafa was in 4th place, a foot from a bronze medal. His last throw would not be good enough for a medal. In Bosnia, 12 inches can mean the difference between life and death. Here it was only the difference between a bronze and 4th place. But the Atlanta Paralympics had been a huge success for Mustafa, for Ali, for Zoran, for Bosnia. No Bosnian athlete had ever finished higher in an Olympic or Paralympic competition. 4th place never felt so good. Our hearts feel bigger than Atlanta, said Mustafa. Just to finish 4th, just to be here after what we've been through, is worth more than any gold.
Is your brush working as hard as you to keep your teeth and gums healthy? This one can. It's from Oral-B, the brand more dentists use themselves. It's the new Advantage with whole bristle cleaning. Unlike ordinary brushes with smooth bristles, New Advantage has micro-textured bristles designed to clean plaque with the whole bristle, not just the tip. Micro-textured bristles with triple the cleaning surfaces, so each bristle works harder. The new Oral-B Advantage. Finally, a brush that works as hard as you do.
All right, we're jamming. I wanna jam it with you. We're jamming, and I hope you like jamming too.
The road, it's where I go to be myself and find myself. That might be Boston one day and Beijing the next. Northwest gets me to all the places I need to go, and they understand how to take care of me. My chair is the most important thing to me, and if it's not working right, then I can't be my best. Northwest is part of my team. Deanna, they say to me, some people just know how to fly. Go fly.
The last time the Democrats went to Chicago, the city all but came apart. 60 Minutes looks back at the most unconventional political convention ever. Tonight.
In the diamond light of an American night, there's a place I see, it's calling me. Welcome home on an incredible night to a CBS night.
Omni Arena, site of wheelchair basketball. The U.S. team had prepared to spend a great deal of time here during these Paralympic Games. They came in the favorites, donning the same uniforms the Dream Team wore at the Centennial Games last month. After all, this wheelchair team was built around a group of players who had helped capture the gold in '92 in Barcelona.
What happened in 1992 is what drives the American wheelchair basketball team in 1996. In Barcelona, the U.S. beat every nation that came in its way. The next day, their gold medals were removed from their necks because one member of the team tested positive for a banned painkiller.
There's 5 Barcelona players on that team that I had prayed that they would win the gold medal so that I could get that monkey off my back.
Here in Atlanta, the Americans breezed through their early games. They had experience, and it showed. But then in the semifinals, they ran into Australia. They had big players, good shooters, and played with an enthusiastic energy the U.S. had not previously seen. The Aussies built a big lead and confidence grew, but a patient American five battled back to make it a one-point game. And in spite of a home crowd boosting their spirit, that is as close as they got. Australia held on for a win that led to its celebration and United States shock.
We're devastated just from what happened to go flat at a time where it really counted. I mean, every team in here has lost a game. We just lost the game at the wrong time.
With its sights set slightly lower, the U.S. team returned to the Omni to play Spain in the bronze medal game. No one rooted harder than their old teammate David Kiley.
Play some defense.
As for the game, the U.S. didn't let its disappointment show. The crowd wouldn't allow it. And while the world just keeps getting better and better, Spain no exception, the final score favored the Americans by 6. And they were happy with the bronze medal they had won.
It's not the medal that we wanted, but we feel so good to come out here with a win and with something. We'll take it. We'll take it.
To have this many people here come watch wheelchair sports and be as loud as these people are, that was great playing in front of the home crowd. I just wish we could have done it for a gold medal game.
As for the Australians, they battled Great Britain in a physical game for the gold, and using a big second half, breezed to the Paralympic Championship. The U.S. men's wheelchair basketball team got their bronze medals, probably already thinking about a rematch 4 years from now. Tricia Zorn is the most heralded athlete in Paralympic history. And when she won her 40th gold medal on the 4th day of these games, we all thought she's just warming up. These sights, these celebrations, they would become a part of these games. But Tricia Zorn is facing an unfamiliar foe this week: time. The fresh young faces, the next generation, 10 and 15 years younger than Zorn, thought they'd be swimming against the Nautilus. The waters of the wake now crash against Tricia. At 32 years old, her body has become one of the obstacles. It can't be ignored. 2 shoulder surgeries in 1 year. She swims with heart and boldness, and yet the dominance of the past has not surfaced here. She has won 2 gold medals in Atlanta, far from the standard she had set for herself.
I've never seen her show disappointment. I think she always keeps a really good perspective on her swimming. So I think she came into this Paralympics hoping for all golds, but being realistic, knowing that she'd be happy with a little bit less than that.
The press wants to know, how does it feel to be less than perfect?
People keep on asking me that, and you know, I'm excited about what I'm, you know, even in the medal.
Family and friends are not used to the change, not even Tricia's mom.
Tricia, I must say it's different. I mean, usually they're all gold, but now we've got a combination.
Tricia's dominance made her the most sought after, the high watermark to aim for.
It is very difficult, and I think even now when she was third, it was like she was first. I didn't felt very well like I am the gold medalist.
Tricia must now find comfort in singing her national anthem for other American winners.
I'm a different swimmer than I was back then. You know, back then I wasn't dealing with the physical problems of, you know, of the age process. And, you know, when you get to a certain age, certain things start to, you know, you feel certain pain. And, you know, my training due to my physical, you know, injuries have hampered me from training the way in certain events that I should have.
We are witnessing history, passages this week, the twilight of an athlete's career. Time is whispering in Tricia Zorn's ear, be not gone, just move over and make room.
For years, I dreamed of seeing Venice with my boyfriend, Tom. I'd whisper about palazzos, gondolas.
All he'd talk about is deadlines and business meetings.
Finally, I went and booked 2 romantic weeks on the Grand Canal with my Visa Gold card. Tom was completely surprised.
Scusa, ma chi è questo Tom?
Visa Gold, purchase power to make dreams come true. It's everywhere you want to be.
How can the Home Depot help you?
We have people there who can give you ideas.
I'd walk you through the entire project from start to finish.
We're there to educate you, to teach you. When you come into Home Depot with one idea, you walk out with 2 or 3 ideas.
We make sure you have everything you need when you leave the store.
It's a whole package when you come to Home Depot. It's definitely more than a store.
Come on in, call us. We'll help you.
From when you walk in the door to you drive away out the driveway.
Proud sponsor of the 1996 Paralympic Games.
I can't see my competition. I can't see the finish line. But I've never lost sight of where I'm headed.
Communication on any level helps us find our way in this world. Bell South, keeping you ahead of the game.
Give up? No, I definitely can't see doing that.
Kukhona engikuzwayo lokunkekhethayo ngala. Kuyini kona lokho?
I-IBM kick drifts.
Ilikhawe lento.
You had to win to be in. This year's winners on the PGA Tour take the field and swing away at the NEC World Series of Golf. Today on CBS.
There are times when sport appears to be unfair. That happens too in the Paralympics. In the men's 100-meter breaststroke final, we find Gong Bao Ren of China, 25. Electrocution cost him both his arms at the age of 8. No arms. Could a swimmer have a greater disability? In the other lanes, there are swimmers who have disabilities as well, but none that appear to equal that of Gong. Still, they'll swim in the same race. The Chinese swimmer gets a late start, but by the time he emerges to take a first breath, he is with the leaders. Lane 4, center of the pool. Turns are often where you win and lose. Gong actually goes head first into the wall. It's the way he gets his lower body close as possible to it for the push-off, which is strong. No doubt Gong has gained great inspiration from his country's swimming successes in recent years. But now, who is inspiring whom? Nearing the finish, the noise grows as the crowd, sensing the clock, begins to recognize Gong's speed. In fact, in this classification, it's a world record, fastest ever. His exhausted body is held up by his chin. Later, at the medal ceremony, his victory bouquet is held the same way. And Gong Bao Ren's salute to the crowd is a broad smile of achievement. It was only one event in these Paralympic Games, but one to remember. Next time the word impossible comes across your lips, think of Gong Bao Ren. And then think again. Come with us now to wheelchair rugby. There's someone we want you to meet. The first thing we found out about the exhibition sport wheelchair rugby is that it's played indoors on a basketball court. But one thing is similar to able-bodied rugby. Australia and New Zealand don't like each other very much.
Hey, remember, guys, this is Australia. Hey, let's go get them.
The battle for Tasman supremacy took place in the first round, and it was clear from the opening lineups that the Kiwis and Aussies were pretty wound up about this thing. If you thought that was strange, get a load of this. Looking for any advantage, New Zealand laid down a challenge to the Aussies before the game with a Maori haka chant. This, as you might imagine, went over real big with the Aussies. As if that wasn't enough, the New Zealanders cleared a spot on their bench for Kiwi dolls with the players' numbers on them to spook Australia. The spell didn't seem to work early on, as Australia took a quick 1-0 lead. The object of this sport is to cross the basketball court end line with a volleyball in order to score a goal, or something like that. Each goal is worth 1 point. The game was still close when Australia's worst nightmare entered the match. Paul Leaf, a Maori tribesman known as the Pocket Dynamo. He took complete control of the match. Using his amazing speed and maneuverability, the Pocket Dynamo bewildered the Aussies with one goal run after another. Quicker than the Tasmanian Devil, the Pocket Dynamo scored 5 straight goals for the Kiwis, and with 4 minutes to play in the first half, it was already 14-6 New Zealand. Now, if the Pocket Dynamo is brilliant on offense, he is a terror on defense, nearly sending his Aussie rivals down under. Born with arthritic legs, the Pocket Dynamo was an absolute pain for the Aussies, chasing them all over the court like a battering ram. Australia did make an occasional goal run when the Pocket Dynamo was cooling off. But when he wheeled back onto the court, it was more of the same. Maybe it was the haka chant. Maybe it was the Kiwi dolls on the bench. More likely it was the Pocket Dynamo who spelled the difference. Final score, New Zealand 39, Australia 23. As you can imagine, this did not go over well with the Aussies either.
No, to lose is one thing, but to lose to the Kiwis, I hate it, and so do the rest of the guys. So
it's pretty special because we always have like our little battles against each other, because we just lived across the Tasman from each other, and we have our good battles, but the one we won today is the one we wanted to get.
The lesson? If life ever presents the challenge of wheelchair rugby to you, remember you were warned about the Pocket Dynamo. Again, the pentathlon carries 6 men back to where the Olympics all began. It's the discus, a curious combination of grace, timing, and sheer muscle.
Thomas Bourgeois is running out of events. Trailing by more than 100 points, he needs a huge thrill. 131 feet, 9 inches.
Urs Kali, the Swiss leader, lets fly. 135 feet, 4 inches. He doesn't even bend, let alone break. Mohammed Hassani's first 2 throws went nowhere but net, into the net. His last chance was a foul, and what the Iranian has now is no chance. Kurt Collier can relate. His first 2 tries were equally lacking in direction, both fouls. Very annoying. On the 3rd and final throw, the lead is still possible. But the measurement is made, and it is not enough to damage the can't-miss Swiss. Collier walks away, calculating the numbers, and the realization is that in the 400 meters, they need a secretariat-like blowout to beat Urs Kali, a 5-second win kind of blowout. Bourgeois needs to be 6 seconds faster. In other words, they need the race of their lives. And people do fall down sometimes, don't they?
If
it's business as usual. The meeting's tomorrow, and time means everything. That's why this business traveler chooses to fly Northwest Airlines.
I get the feeling that Northwest really cares about Deanna, the racer, the person, and the business traveler.
Like Northwest, when it comes to getting there on schedule, distance champion Deanna Sodoma just won't settle for second best.
Face it, if I don't get to the starting line on time, I don't get to the finish line.
I lost my leg when I was 9 years old.
Impossible
Something
is untried.
impossible is something untried.
I was born visually impaired.
Faith
is a decision. I was born with cerebral palsy.
There are no hopeless bodies, only
hopeless hearts. So what's your excuse?
Swatch, official timekeeper, 96 Paralympic Games.
Is your brush working as hard as you to keep your teeth and gums healthy? This one can. It's from Oral-B, the brand more dentists use themselves. It's the new Advantage with whole bristle cleaning. Unlike ordinary brushes with smooth bristles, New Advantage has micro-textured bristles designed to clean plaque with the whole bristle, not just the tip. Micro-textured bristles with triple the cleaning surfaces, so each bristle works harder. The new Oral-B Advantage. Finally a brush that works as hard as you do.
The 1996 Atlanta Paralympic Games are sponsored by Coca-Cola Classic, the official soft drink of the 1996 Paralympic Games. Swatch, the official timekeeper of the 1996 Paralympic Games. And by the Global Alliance of Northwest Airlines and KLM, featuring World Business Class.
The day of pentathlon has gone from AM to PM, from long jump to shot put, 100 meters, then discus, and now the last. Thomas Bourgeois from San Antonio needs a Texas-sized result. Win by 6 seconds for the gold. Daunting, but knowledge of challenge is something that there is a lot of around here. Urs Colley so far has looked like the world's greatest Paralympic athlete. His efforts as commanding as the lead he enjoys over Collier, whose glances at the Swiss are frequent. He needs to win by 5 seconds. Mohammed Hassani, who started strong, remember? Well, he's a no-show. Colley offers up some Tarzan-like bravado. It's time, and one of those personal moments when you take stock of all the sacrifices you made to get here, the ones only you know about.
Urs Colley powers out of the blocks. Early he is in the lead by only a little, but still in the lead. Collier is the only competition in sight.
By the final turn in this one-lap race, Bourgeois is moving up while Collier has fallen back. But there is to be no huge win, no giving in by the Swiss, no missteps, no openings. Bourgeois is a silver medalist who just can't stand it. Kurt Collier's first Paralympics have claimed all he has. He'll bring the bronze back to Arizona. Urs Colley has won 4 of the pentathlon's 5 events, a dominant world's best Paralympian. While Bourgeois and Collier share the mix of pain and joy and take stock of the day.
We did our best today, and that's what it's about. And Urs Colley is a phenomenal athlete. He's set a world record probably here in the pent and also in the open long jump, jumping 19 feet off one leg. It's amazing, and to be second or third behind Urs Colley, it's an easy pill to swallow because he's a phenomenal athlete and a gentleman.
You know, I hope the world had the chance to witness the level of athleticism that was demonstrated, and you know, I'm happy for what I had and what I achieved.
It is times like this where things are said like you win a silver medal, you don't lose one. Same true for bronze. And the reason those things are said is because they fit. The same way these extraordinary efforts fit under the torch. Since the beginning of time, we have always found a way to divide ourselves. The empowered view the disenfranchised as them. We've done it racially, culturally we've done it, economically, and politically we've done it too. There are those too who've got 10 fingers and toes, muscles that work and eyes that see, who frequently view Paralympians as them. We have been surrounded by more evidence now for 10 amazing days that a more enlightened view in every case is we. It would take but an instant of misfortune, after all, to take you from one world and put you in the other. These Paralympians aren't waiting for the world to awaken to how life can really be. They've moved on. While it may be unjust they are not included in the bigger picture of the Olympic Games, they've got a découvrant named Dr. Gutmann, who gave them a start, charted a course, and let it happen. Personal bests became world records, and those turned into medals. Limits were not even a consideration. The Paralympics have become a glorious pageant of sports, filled with a spirit of celebration that would equal that of any event. Swifter, higher, stronger becomes mind, body, and spirit. People of all countries coming together, the exultation of being the best, and the absolute hollow feeling of not getting it done. It's all been here, and beautiful to watch. There will come a day when the playing field is equal for all, and there will be no distinctions of any kind. We know this because the Paralympians are pushing the clock, the height, the distance, until everyone understands. It is we. We know this because if there is one thing that can be said, it's that nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop them. Coming up next on CBS, it's Arthur Ashe Kids Day at the U.S. Open. That's followed by the road to the President's Cup. Then more golf. The final round of the NEC World Series of Golf from Akron, Ohio.